So why we do this is, first of all, it makes it beautiful in our city. But more importantly, it helps us with stormwater because we're getting bigger storms, more global warming, and when you have that, you get millions of gallons that flow into the Rappahannock River, then flow into the Chesapeake. And when that happens, it takes all the silt that's in the street and all the grit, and it'll wash into the river. And it acts like a scouring powder and scours the edges of the river and gets more of the soil stirred up. So when you go look at the river, it's brown, right? Well, that's like a big scouring powder moving all the way down and carrying all that silt. And when it gets into the Chesapeake, it settles on the bay grasses and on the oysters and smothers them. So the bay grasses, where the small fish breed, no longer are breeding grounds, and the oysters, which filter millions of gallons every day in the Chesapeake, no longer are functioning. And so what we do is get a lot of dead zones in the Chesapeake where there's miles and miles of no oxygen. And when you have no oxygen, there's no fish, there's no crabs, there's nothing. And you've got lots of pollution. So what we're trying to do is stop some of that stormwater. One tree can absorb about 40,000 gallons of water a year. And so we've planted over 7,000 trees. So we've got millions of gallons starting to mitigate, okay? So that's what you guys are doing. And the flare is like, think of shoulders, okay? That's where the lungs of the tree are. And if we bury the tree too deep and you don't see that, the tree can't get enough oxygen. All of these trees that you see around here, these great big trees, most of them go down about 18 inches. That's it, because the oxygen is at the top of the soil. So the tree roots stay at the top of the soil to get oxygen. How many of you guys can live with your hand over your mouth and nose for how long? Not too long, right? So that's the same with a tree. It needs oxygen. We know what it does with photosynthesis. It takes in carbon dioxide and gives off oxygen in the leaves, but the tree itself needs oxygen, takes in oxygen, takes the carbon and stores it in the trunk, carbon sequestering, okay? That's that part. So we need to make sure that those shoulders or the flare is showing when you finish planting the tree. If you can't see it, you're hurting the tree. Every extra inch of soil that you put on that roots decreases the oxygen intake by 10%. If the tree is buried 10 inches too deep, it dies. It just can't do it. Otherwise, it just gasps along. You go and look and you see along shopping centers where they got this much mulch piled around it, and those trees haven't grown in 20 years, right? Because they can't. There's no oxygen. If you don't have oxygen, you're going to be really short. And that's what we've got, a lot of short trees in parking lots.
Let's go find one.
Okay, so here's there. It's really tough to see here, but you see this? That's what we call the flare there. See? So we want to actually see that when you've planted it, okay? Everybody can see this? Okay? And your tree steward is going to make that determination too. Go ahead and take that off. That's going to stick up anyway. And you look at that and you go, how the heck can this tree live with this? But it will. This tree is going to put on a lot of roots over the next year. You want to go ahead and get your new stick? Huh? Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to make sure we've got these really deluxe handy measuring sticks so you can see that the flare is above there, okay? And then as they put the soil back in, go ahead.
Just tape it down.
Yeah, we're gonna start. And then you're gonna be poking that soil back in there. We don't want to leave any air holes, okay? Use this end of it. Again, these deluxe things.
Straight.
And then I'd like some of you guys to actually get on your hands and knees. Hold on. And get down on your hands and knees at this point and really get that poked in there. See how I can get my hand in there? We don't want that to happen. Okay, so we want to get in there to make sure. Come on, Josh. This part of this tree will always be right here. The top will continue to grow. So because of that, this is the part you need to make sure is straight. So look at it. So from your point of view, is it straight this way, right here? It is? Okay, now how about you? It's this way, it's straight? Does it need to go either way? It's fine? Okay? Okay, so now we get to the point where we're getting there. I don't want you stopping on this because you'll stop out the oxygen, but you can kind of touch it down a little bit. Go ahead, throw some dirt at me. And then we got this big pile of soil, and what we're going to do is just put it around here and get it down to the point where it's just going to stay here.